Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by someone that's going to be very busy in 2023. That, of course, is Isabella Robusto of Toyota Racing Development. How's it going?
It's doing good. I'm doing good. Staying busy for sure this year.
Okay, so talk about what you're going to be doing this year.
Yeah, so I'm gonna be in a ton of different cars. So I'll be in the GT4 America Series. I'm going to run the full GT4 Championship Series with Smooth Racing in a Toyota Supra. I've got a couple of the GR86 races as well. I believe those are with Nitro Motorsports. I'm going to run the full Cars Tour in the late model stock with Lee Falk Racing, and then the full Cars Tour in the late model pro with Donnie Wilson Motorsports. And then I'm going to make my ARCA debut this year with Venerini Motorsports. So very excited for all of it. Definitely going to be busy.
It is exciting. And I'll ask you this. What races are you going to be doing? When are we going to see you in the ARCA Menard series?
Yeah, so my first ARCA race is going to be Nashville, and then I will go to Berlin, DeCoin, which will be my first time on dirt, so that will be interesting. Lots to learn there, and then I'll end at Salem. So, got some short track stuff, kind of what I've been running and been used to. So hopefully, kind of get my feet wet for the following year.
Yep. All right. So looking into this year, you've got a lot of plans. Of course, of course, when you signed with Toyota last year, this was kind of leading up to what was going to happen this year. So talk about all the stuff that you're going to be doing, because you're pretty much going to be racing every single week.
Yeah, so basically starting, I think it's like March 3rd or March 4th, is when my racing season's going to start. I'm basically going to race every weekend. It's right at 53 different races that I will be racing in this year. So definitely keeping busy. When I'm not at the racetrack, I'll be at the Toyota Performance Center, working on the sim with all of the engineers, getting ready and prepped for when we go to the racetrack, along with working out every day, just staying physically and mentally fit for all the races that I'm going to do, especially having to switch between car and car during races, especially for the Cars Tour, where I'll be pulling double duty in two completely different cars. So kind of working on how I'm going to manage that and get right into it right off the start.
Yeah, for people that don't know, there's two sets of cars in the Cars Tour, two different kinds of classes. It's kind of like, sports car talk. We'll get to that in a minute too. So what about the Cars Tour that really just impressed you, like with what Lee Falk Racing has been able to do? Because they've helped out a ton of young drivers over the years.
Yeah, I think last year running with Lee was huge. Like it helped so much. Not only pick up my first late model stock win, and then ended up winning two more weeks later at a different track, but just learning racecraft and getting better with the small things that help you when you're out on the races, especially for Cars Tour where everybody's so close. It's not tenths of a second and thousandths of a second. So that's where all those small things come in. And Lee Falk Racing and Lee and Michael and Shady and all the guys there are a huge help every single week, helping me find and fine tune things that I need to work on, and then also point them out to me so that the following weeks we can make sure that we hit on them and get better every single week that we're out there.
Absolutely. So let's talk about going in these sports cars too. It's going to be. Have you ever done sports car racing? I mean, there's a huge one this weekend with the Rolex 24 at Daytona. But what's it going to be like going, something that, have you ever raced in a sports car before?
So I grew up in go-karts, so grew up on road courses, did legend cars on road courses as well, but never done any sports car racing. So this will definitely be a new type of racing for me, but I'm looking forward to it just because it brings me back to my roots of where I kind of started on the road courses, and now just going into faster cars. But I don't feel like it's going to be that bad. I feel like I'm going to pick it up really easy, and be able to compete and win and fight for that championship.
Okay. And then just, what kind of talk about some of the tracks that you're going to be going to in this GT4.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to go to my favorite track, which I love on the sim. I've never been to is Coda. I'm looking forward to it. It's by far my top track that I'm looking forward to. I'll be at Sebring, Sonoma, NOLA. I'll be at VIR and Indy. So some pretty big road courses. Some of them I still have to learn. I haven't quite done on the sim all of them, but looking forward to being able to compete at all of them.
And a lot of those tracks are going to be, either raced in NASCAR or you might see in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship and or Michelin Pilot Challenge. So going to be a fun season there. All right, let's talk about ARCA for a second. For working with the top team in ARCA with Venturini Motorsports, and you're doing a lot of races that at the short tracks like Salem, Berlin. I'll ask about DuQuoin in a minute, but going into these kinds of tracks, this is kind of your first time in one of these big stock cars. Yes, you've been in a late model before, but what's this going to be like when you go to the Nashville Fairgrounds to make your debut? And by the way, we're no better place to make it.
These cars are definitely gonna be different. They're way heavier. They're completely different. So, I've tested it in ARCA car twice. 3 years ago was my first test, and then I did one at the beginning of last year. So I have a little bit of experience, not a ton. So I kind of know what I'm getting into, but thankfully for all of my races are gonna be short track, so I'll be able to pick them up pretty easy just from doing all my short track stuff last year and then the beginning of this year. And I think Nashville is going to be a good track to start out with, just because of my driving style, and then kind of how I pick up and learn tracks is going to help. But like you said, DeCoin will definitely be the
Yeah,
challenge of all of the tracks.
yeah, yeah, I was about to ask you just about that. Yeah, of course, this is something that you know in your racing career, obviously there's different disciplines that you have and different things that you've been a part of, and because you're going to be on road courses, short tracks, and in late models and big stock cars. But this is dirt. I mean, this is something that not many people get to do, or it doesn't happen that often on the schedule, but you still have to be ready for it. And of course, what's it going to be like to run one of these stock cars on dirt? Like are you gonna, and plus the thing is, it's like you got a ton of people at Toyota that obviously do dirt for a living. So obviously are you gonna run some dirt races to get prepared for this, or you're just gonna get some advice from some people? But it's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, so I've already kind of gotten into the process of getting advice from different people, and Toyota adding all of their new drivers as well that are dirt drivers gives me more people to kind of talk with and kind of get more of an understanding of what I'm getting into. And we're setting up right now some tests at Millbridge and a midget just for me to get on dirt and kind of get comfortable with being sideways and kind of learning the main factors of how the track changes throughout the races. But definitely using all of the dirt drivers and all of the other people that I know that have raced dirt and raced a coin, and using them as a huge resource just to help me learn and be prepared as much as possible.
um okay, so of course we've had you on before, but this is something that this is probably the biggest schedule that you've been a part of. When you started your racing career, did you think you'd be racing this much?
No, even last year, I wasn't expecting to be racing this much this year. It's way more than I've expected, and I'm looking forward to it. And I'm going to make every opportunity count, and hopefully the next year. I'm not even sure if we can get any bigger or any more races, but if that's an option, get bigger and better next year. If not, just keep the same amount of races. It's all about seat time, and I think the more seat time that I get, the better I'll be. And this year for sure we'll have tons of seat time.
What are you most looking forward to this year?
Racing at Coda. It's a track that I've wanted to race at for probably 2 or 3 years now. And it just reminds me of go-kart tracks when I grew up and watching F1 race there. I love watching F1, and that's that's definitely gonna be my main highlight and kind of looking forward to.
All right. Well, Isabella Robusto, thank you so much for coming on, and it's good to talk to you again. We haven't had you on in a while, so good to catch up, and congrats on all your announcements. And we'll look forward to talking with you again later in the year.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.